Okay, guys, we have an update about this Turning Point USA debate, this offer that was extended to Candace Owens. More importantly, I didn't know who Blake Neff really was. Yesterday, some of you emailed me to tell me who this guy actually was, and this flew right over my head. So I am going to give you that information because I think it can provide context more so to this story because it says something about his character. So I think people need to hear about that. And then also new information that has come out that Erika Kirk is the one who was requesting that Candace appear in person. This situation is getting wild and crazy, but let's go ahead and get into it. The other day, a caller called into Charlie Kirk's show, which Blake Neff here is hosting along with Andrew Kovitz, asking about the debate. And this is where it is revealed by Blake that Erika Kirk was the one who requested that she should be there in person. Candace also responded to this. And also, we're going to get into this town hall that is scheduled with Erika Kirk by Barry Weiss. There's some weird things going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and get into this clip where the caller called into the show.
And she's saying she can't attend in person. Can she attend on a live stream or, and you guys do live streams all the time. And is that going to be an option?
Course, Gina.
I'm just trying to make this come together.
Of course, Gina. So first of all, our initial statement, it was on the show on Wednesday. I made it at the request of Erika. All of this has been at the direction and approval of Erika because she heads this. And so what we were announcing there is we said, she has said things that are not true, and we did not address them for a long time. We stated the reasons why, that we thought a lot of them were just not, how to put it?
He appears nervous here. Everybody noticed this. He feels his words are getting a little bit tangled. So this is the interesting part, that Erika was the one that requested that she appear there in person. That's interesting because it's not like Erika doesn't know who Candace is. One would have thought that she would have reached out to Candace privately and had this conversation with her. But it seems as though she's doing this through Blake and, of course, Andrew Kovitz here. And here's what I think this is really all about, folks, because let's just be honest. Kind of hard for people to not have some type of sympathy or take the side of a grieving widow. And we've talked about Erika Kirk and her past, etc., on the show. But the reality is, it seems as though they are trying to stage some type of live streamed intervention where Erika Kirk probably would be present, since she is the one that requested that Candace appear in person. And then what I predict would happen is that they would try to give this energy that, how dare you do this to this woman? She's a grieving widow. And then, of course, people will feel sympathetic for Erika. And ultimately, in the end, even if Candace is correct about the information that she provides, Erika comes out looking like the winner here, and it would make Candace look bad. The public would look at this and say, how dare you do this? Can't you see how this woman is hurting? So now we're getting more context to this story. But to my point, this is something I never really understood about this YouTube space. People who actually know each other and have each other's phone numbers, instead of just having a private conversation behind the scenes, texting them, calling them, they'll do this type of display of energy. And it just rubs me the wrong way, right? Like, she could have just reached out to her privately to have this conversation. Why does it need to be live stream? Why does it have to be that way? And obviously, I think it's because they're trying to do it for numbers' sake, right? Like, obviously, a lot of people would tune into that. They'd get a lot of views. It would be beneficial for, Charlie Kirk's show, which he doesn't even host anymore because he's not alive, but they would reap the benefits of that. I see it as though Turning Point USA would reap the benefits of it. And ultimately, they would try to make Candace look like an asshole for diving deeper into this investigation when this woman here is grieving. Kind of interesting, huh? But wait till you hear about who he actually is. Let's get back into this.
We initially just thought no one would believe a lot of what was being said, and we also just we remembered the same friendship that Charlie had, and we just hoped that this would go away without requiring any sort of direct statement or confrontation from us. So what was approved is we announced we are going to respond to this, and what I said was we are going to announce a date soon. We actually hadn't agreed on it at the time I read the statement. We're going to announce a date where we're going to respond to this, and once we announce it, Candace is free to attend in person. That is what we announced. And so once we agreed on a time, I announced what the time was going to be. Candace, for her part, had said, you name the time, you name the place. That is what we did.
But she was referring to a virtual debate where she wouldn't have to leave her house. She wouldn't have to find childcare. That's what she was referring to. She wasn't referring to flying out there physically in person. People have to make arrangements for that, especially when you have kids. So he's being disingenuous here.
As for why it was put out at that time, I would just say I don't think she had any difficulty in finding out what our scheduled time was. It seems everyone found it out quite quickly. And lastly, on the point of why it's in person, I think it's pretty intuitive that given what is being said, what the way this has worked is that it's critical to be in person if you want to be authentic and to be detailed. And that is what we think is a fair request to make if she's going to participate. But regardless, it is going to go forward because we have agreed that some response needs to be made. And so that's going to happen when we announced it on December 15th.
So yeah, they're still holding firm with that date of December 15th. Obviously, you guys know if you watch Candace's show, she said that date doesn't work for her family. I explained to you guys the significance of that date as well in the previous show. So let me tell you who this guy is. And again, shout out to all of you who emailed this to me yesterday. It's like everybody was in one accord. It's so funny, the number of emails that I got about this. I didn't know that this is the same guy that used to write for Tucker Carlson's show, and he resigned. And just a reminder as to why he resigned. This was back in 2020. Tucker Carlson's top writer resigns after secretly posting racist and sexist remarks in an online forum. And he wasn't using his real name in this forum. He was using, a pseudonym. So that people wouldn't know it was him. But obviously, it turned out people realized it was him anyway. So just a reminder, just this week, the writer Blake Neff responded to a thread started by another user in 2018 with the subject line, "Would you let a jet black Congo N-word do LASIK eye surgery on you for 50% off?" Neff wrote. Well, that's the subject line. Neff wrote, "I wouldn't get LASIK from an Asian for free, so no." On June 5th, Neff wrote, "Black dudes staying inside playing Call of Duty is probably one of the biggest factors keeping crime down." On June 24th, Neff commented, "Honestly, given how tired Black people always claim to be, maybe the real crisis is their lack of sleep." On June 26th, Neff wrote that the only people who care about changing the name of the NFL's Washington Redskins are white libs and the university educated pets. So this is somebody who was racist. And I don't know if he still feels this way. He could possibly, I don't know. But I do think it is important that people know who this guy actually is and the character that he had. It goes on to say here, over the course of 5 years, he maintained a lengthy thread in which he has derided a woman and posted information about her dating life that has invited other users to mock her and invade her privacy. There has at times also been overlap between some material he posted on or saw on the forum and Carlson's show. So this is back when Tucker Carlson was still with Fox News. CNN Business contacted him for a comment he or someone acting on his behalf passed the email to Fox News spokespeople, a network spokesperson on Friday, told CNN Business that Neff had resigned. So he didn't respond to multiple requests for comments. Fox News CEO Susan Scott and President Jay Wallace condemned horrific, racist, misogynistic, and homophobic behavior. They went on to talk about his conduct. Let's go on a little bit more here. Want to get down to this part. Yeah. 2015, Neff started a thread on Auto Admit mocking a woman with whom he was friends with on Facebook and whom he described as an mega shrew, sharing posts she had about her dating life. This is just low. Like that's so low. He has continued to post to the thread and mock the woman. Goes on to say here, throughout the years, the thread has generated nearly 1,000 comments, many of which use vulgar, racist, sexist, and dehumanizing language to mock the woman. So one person was targeted in particular. Here, Neff has also expressed bigoted views. In 2014, he joked about foodie, F word. Can't say that here, obviously. And in the same year, he started a thread titled Urban Business Idea. He didn't do muffin. He joked one item could be Sandra Bland's sugar-free shortbreads in an August 2019 post. So just a number of things that he said. At one point, he made a comment and said, okay, but what do we do with the millions of Chinese people? So just to give you an idea of who he was, here's another one here. On the 4th of July, he started a thread which he jokingly rated members of the community using images from the 1990s video game from the makers of Oregon Trail that was pulled from the market due to its racist depictions of slaves. In the game, users play as slaves trying to break free and escape north. Neff assigned users on the forum images from the game, many of which depicted Black slaves using racist stereotypes. For instance, Neff assigned one user an image of slave catcher, to which the user replied, "Thank you, Massa Charles, for this." Yeah, a number of things here. Here was another one. That same year, he commented on a thread titled, obviously can't say these words here, but DIKES, get wrong, come bank, N-word pops out. He replied to a comment on a thread that said, and the ends are always honor students or some BS. So yeah, not good at all. So that is who this guy is. So I think that's important to add to context, because here's the thing. The point is, there's not going to be any respect there. He doesn't have any respect for Black people, Asian people, apparently even women, from some of these comments that he made. That's not going to happen. And if I were Candace, I would have put that out on Front Street, to be honest with you. That information needs to be said. She probably doesn't want to get into all of that, but I would put that out there because people need to understand the character of this individual. He has no intentions of this being a serious conversation. He has no intentions of having any type of respect for her. And people need to understand that. So kudos to all of you who sent me that information, because I didn't put the two and two together. I didn't realize that that was the same guy that resigned from Tucker Carlson's show because of those comments that he made. So he just doesn't have any type of respect for her or anyone who looks like her. And I think that's an important part to the story. Going on, and it says something about Turning Point USA bringing that guy on. So Candace did respond to what he said about Erika being the one to make the call. And looking back on it, I guess it makes sense because she is the leader of TPUSA now. So listen to what she said here.
Not a demand to be there in person, live streams happening at your studio, and you said that this was a sincere request, then you went about it in the opposite manner, which is why it makes it really interesting that he says in the beginning that that was done at the request, at the direction, and with the approval of Erika. And that's
Pause here for a second. Did anybody else notice that in that conversation where he was saying that Andrew Colvett was not there present in the studio? He was virtual. So one of the co-hosts can be virtual, but they're telling her that she has to be there in person. Let's continue.
It's interesting for a lot of reasons. A, I think a lot of us have been wondering, like, did she take on this role and she's actually executing? Or are we still going through a transition phase? Is she still learning the part? How involved is she on a day-to-day basis? Because some of these actions seem like fumbles, like absolute fumbles. And you're wondering, is Andrew Colvett running things? Is Tyler Boyer running things? Is this coming from Erika Kirk? Because I'm having trouble, I guess, comprehending why she would green light something that the internet has now read as incredibly insincere. Of course it's insincere. You market yourself as somebody that is passionate about family, and we can't even get 24 hours to see if we can make things work and exchange things. Like, that doesn't feel honest. That didn't come across as honest. And you're telling us, or we're assuming from that statement, that she approved the statement that went out referring to people as Antifa members.
I don't trust Erika. And you guys know that if you've been watching this show, I don't trust Erika. And this goes back to the whole family values thing, right? Which I talked about before, this whole thing about family values, family is important, family matters, but obviously not, because if family matters and if family is important, like I said before, why aren't any of those people at Turning Point USA saying anything about all the families that have been killed in Gaza? Why aren't they saying anything about obviously giving someone time to make plans for their family, for childcare, etc., so that they could be at this debate that they demand is in person if they care so much about family and family values? It's the hypocrisy for me. And it's just so obvious, right? So, but I don't trust Erika. I told you guys this before. And if push comes to shove, because the thing is, Candace says in this conversation here that she's going to try anyway to make it work. She says in this live stream that her husband said that that date doesn't work. But she said she's going to try again to try to see if she can get there physically in person. And I feel as though it may come to a point where Candace might have to push back on Erika. And I think it seems like she doesn't want to do that. I know earlier on, she mentioned that if Erika told her to stop, she would stop. But I feel like it's going to come to that. There's some weird things going on here, folks. Some weird things. And I told you guys earlier on, it was kind of weird to me how she was all out up in front of the camera that soon after Charlie Kirk was killed. It just to me, grieving takes time. And she said in her interview that people grieve in different ways. But I get that. But at the same time, I don't know, especially considering this town hall that she has scheduled that's coming up. I feel like she is really getting in that spotlight and not focusing on, let me, take care of myself mentally because of everything that has happened. I don't know. I don't trust it. And then when we talked about her past, about the organization in Romania and her coming from the beauty pageant stream, same thing I said about with Pam Bondi. I don't know. I don't trust it. Just don't. So I feel like this is a setup. I think it's a trap that they're setting for Candace. And if I was her, I would not feel comfortable going there in person. Like I said, I really think now that we know that Erika was the one that gave the signal, I think Erika plans on being there. And ultimately, the goal is, in my opinion, is to make people say, why are you doing this, Candace? Don't you see how this woman is grieving and hurting? Let this go. And it's kind of hard. It's going to be kind of hard for the public, I think, to sit up there and go against someone who just lost their husband. And they're like, oh my gosh, Erika will probably be there crying if I were to make some type of predictions. But ultimately, it's going to make Candace look bad. Even if she's laying out fact after fact after fact after fact, what people will see is a woman who just lost her husband who is sitting there crying, saying, stop this. And like I said, that conversation could have happened privately. Erika could have reached out to her privately and said, I want you to be there in person.
Making us akin to a basket of deplorables because we don't accept the Fed slop. Like, that got her approval to go out. Like, this was read by Erika. That doesn't feel good, And the reality is if you deeply care about the legacy of Turning Point USA, as you all claim that you do, like you claim that you're really just in this, Blake Neff and Andrew Colbeck, because we were his best friends and we love him, then how can you treat people who are genuinely people just like Gina, donors to Turning Point USA, people who got behind Turning Point USA, people who have photos of them going to Turning Point USA events, who probably have tickets to go to AmFest? How can you treat people with such contempt? How could you think they're dumb enough to believe that that was a sincere offer, that that's how it's supposed to work, that that's ever in the history ever of people setting up debates, that's ever been how it's worked? That
how? Because again, I don't trust Erika. I just don't.
Someone just arbitrarily picks a time and a place, and you admit you had no time and you did not have a date picked. So there's no reason you couldn't come to me and say, here's 2 dates that could work, and allowed me to do that. And by the way, I would still like for you guys to do that. Okay. And one more thing that I want to put out there, because your 24-hour demand is ridiculous. It's silly. Okay. Let's strip it. Let's not pretend that there's some buzzard that got hit. We can still make this work. And I would like to make this work. And I would especially like to make this work if you are saying or implying that Erika Kirk is going to be there. Because the reality is that would be a game changer. I think that's a game changer. I think it would be very powerful to have her there, to represent the viewpoints in a way that they're maybe not being shared by Blake Neff, who is incredibly unlikable and speaks down to people. And
racist and sexist and that's all who he is. A big part about that.
Don't know why he does that. It's not coming across clearly from your spokesperson, Andrew Colbeck, who seems to be on the road and isn't course correcting in the attitudes that are coming out, or at least telling people not to be like late night tweeting like Tyler Boyer. And yeah, it would be great if you are saying that on the 15th, Erika Kirk, as you are insinuating that she's going to be there, right? She's directing this thing. Are you implying here that she's going to actually be in the chair and she's willing to allow me to bring things and to go over timelines and stuff? Like, can you make that offer through the proper channels? Can you actually say that, since you now have more details about how it's going to work, and reopen that offer again? There's no way in hell that George can make the 15th work. I just said it. No, he shut it down immediately, and for a very valid reason. And it is not my inclination to go to Phoenix without having my team with me. And my husband is very much a part of my team.
And I don't think anybody should go there alone. That's a really good point. But I don't see this as a positive. I see Erika being there as some type of manipulation, because again, it's like it can be difficult to say some of the things that, Candace said when you have, again, Charlie's widow right there in front of you or next to you, or not saying that Candace wouldn't be able to do that. But what I'm saying is the way that it's going to look to the public, the way that the public is going to take it. I don't think they are trying to do this, obviously, to help Candace or to benefit Candace. They're doing this to help themselves. They're doing this to enrich themselves. Obviously, I would imagine hundreds of thousands of people would watch that debate. And it's going to be on their end. This is another thing, pay attention to. It's not going to be on Candace's channel unless they let her do that. They probably like, no. It's going to be on their channel, on the Charlie Kirk show. So they're going to get the views. A lot of people are going to watch, and maybe their goal is to hope change like some of their minds. Like, remember, there is this thing out there right now that there's this saying that's going around that Candace is dividing the MAGA movement, that she solely is doing this herself. And so that's why I said I do see this as a trap where they're trying to lure her in there and get hundreds of thousands of people to watch it live. And then their whole thing is, wow, look at this woman, look at what she's doing to this grieving widow. Excuse me. You guys have to forgive me. The air is really dry. We have a polar vortex going on right now. It is dry and it is cold. So pardon me. But that's what I foresee happening. And to try to get some of the people who are agreeing with Candace to come over to their side and say, whoa, okay, this is a bridge too far for me. Now, I don't think that's going to work in the way that they want it to, but they're going to try to do what they can. And the fact that Erika did not reach out to her behind the scenes to tell her, hey, I want you to be there in person, it's just kind of weird. And Blake had to be the one to say that publicly. And then some people are wondering, like, well, is he telling the truth? And I think he's telling the truth about that. So I feel like it's a trap. It's a trap.
But I will say that I will raise it further with the Supreme Court of George Farber. If you are insinuating, and actually if you can confirm that you are saying that you will allow me, as you said further in this, to bring whatever it is, because it would be more authentic if it was face to face. If you're saying that I don't have to deal with you, and this is actually going to be very open and I can ask every question under the sun, I might beg, I might beg. So I would love to hear from Turning Point USA and stop pretending 24 hours was some like demand that had to be met, because that's ridiculous. So ball very much back into your court. And like I said, I want to make this happen. I still think you guys can open up for a live stream. Like you're doing that right now. That seems ridiculous as well. Let's make this work for the people.
So she seems to be persistent. She still wants to try to make it happen in some way, shape, or form. Again, like, this is all screaming. Like, when I saw that video on X and he said it was Erika, it was coming from her that she wanted this to happen, I was like, oh boy, here we go. And honestly, they could do a number of things. They could say that she would be directing it or she would be moderating it. And then Candace could get there and then she starts to participate and says, why are you doing this? Look at what you're doing to me and my family. Do you not realize how this is making us feel? And then again, like I said, it will make Candace look bad, even if she's laying out facts and she has all these receipts. But Candace is probably prepared for that either way. I just don't trust Erika Kirk. I don't trust her. And I don't think you guys should either, especially considering now this is cringe. You guys have got to see this. Just announced CBS News to present a town hall with Erika Kirk, moderated by CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss, who just went in there and became the chief editor of CBS News because she was doing such a fantastic job with her free press outlet. No, we know why she was given that position, right? To push the Zionist narrative. Kirk will talk about the murder of her husband, Charlie Kirk, rising political violence in America, the future of the right and faith. I'm not making this up, you guys. And look at the dates. December 13th. 2 days before they want to have the debate in person with Candace Owens. Timing actually matters. So Erika has this town hall. You guys can see here is the flyer here. December 13th at 8 p.m. Like this is just, I saw this and I said, what in the actual hell? Right? That's how far they're taking this. That's how far they're taking this. What in the actual hell? So she has this town hall, December 13th. The scheduled debate for December 15th. So Erika has this town hall 2 days before the debate to get up there on the stage with Barry Weiss to start crying and get more public, sympathy and empathy, to get everybody, feeling something for what she went through. And then 2 days later, this debate at Turning Point USA with Candace Owens. The point that I'm trying to make is this: Erika will have already garnered support from the town hall. And then they go into the debate on Tuesday, which I still believe she would probably be a part of. If not a moderator, she might step in at some point. Either way, she's the one that wants her to be there in person. So going into it, she would have already had that town hall. I feel like people like Barry Weiss and others, they're milking this for all that it's worth. They still have the same agenda. They have the Zionist agenda. Barry Weiss does. Erika Kirk does. Don't forget. Don't forget about the pro-Israel narrative. And that's really what this is all about. Because I don't see Barry Weiss hosting a town hall with any other woman that lost their husband, who is a public figure. So people need to pay attention to what's really going on here. This is what Barry Weiss is doing with CBS News. So Erika is out there and about. And that's why I say I don't trust Erika. And that's just me. Candace knows her. I do not know her. But from what I have been seeing, it is just like, look at the comments. Ryan Sheed, CBS just lost all credibility. Jesus Christ. Really sad to see the network of Cronkite and Murrow brought so low. And there are many more that you can check. But I don't know, guys. This is a doozy. Like I said, people needed to know who this guy was. So my apologies for not realizing that was the same guy. But kudos to all of you for contacting me and letting me know who that guy was. And I said, okay, I got to talk about that. But just put all the pieces there together. Blake is not going into this conversation in good faith. He doesn't have respect for Candace. He doesn't have respect for Black people. We don't have respect for Asians, as you saw. So I think it's important to know the character of the individual that she is going to be debating. It appears he's going to be one of them, at least. This is getting messy. And right before the holidays, getting really messy, guys. Stay focused, stay grounded. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.